Good afternoon, financial professionals. I'm Steve Walker, Vice President of Institutional Accounts here at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in today. For those of you joining the Brew for the first time, welcome. We like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. And today on July 31st, we have three. We lobbied for four, but we're going to keep it to just three today. National Mutt Day. So if you have a dog that's a mutt, happy Mutt Day. National Avocado Day and Harry Potter's birthday. So what better way to celebrate Harry Potter's birthday than with your mutt enjoying some delicious guacamole on Avocado Day?
That sounds perfect.
It sure does. On today's Brew, Phil Haug and I will conclude our July focused planning series on worksite and voluntary guaranteed issue with just kind of a recap, couple of high-level client scenarios, and discussion on those ideal client profiles. We encourage you to use the chat box or raise your hand to ask questions. All attendees are entered into a drawing for a CE voucher and Starbucks gift card, and we'll announce the winner at the end of today. So we thank you for tuning in, and Phil, thanks for joining us. Let's kick off today. I know you're traveling,
Yes.
so we're gonna have the video off just for sound stability and things along those lines. But why don't we kick it off? Let's talk about this fun voluntary and guaranteed issue solutions that we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate the accommodation for want to make sure we have some stability and technology here. So you guys, you'll see my face for radio this week. So, we've spent the last month talking about the worksite and GI products. And Steve, you've obviously had a lot of success with your advisors in that area. Without getting into any specific product details, remind us from a really high level, what kind of solutions are available? I know we're talking about last 3-4 weeks, right? But what solutions are available to the advisors partnered up for in the voluntary benefit and guaranteed issues?
Yeah, no, I couldn't have thought of a better way to kick off our recap. So really when we look at that, and I think of kind of voluntary benefits, and you can also tie in executive benefits, which is starting to become a more and more popular catchphrase term, advisor type within the agencies that we work with, as well as nationally. So whether you're looking at voluntary benefits to just supplement what an employer is already doing for their employees on the broad basis, or we can look at some executive carve-out planning where we can say, hey, we want to offer benefits to a select group of individuals, C-suite, leadership, those that bring in a lot of the revenue. You can actually legally discriminate in these executive carve-out classes as long as you're not, carving out based upon a protected class. But we're starting to see a lot of success in that as well. And in particular, when we look at the solutions, it's really focused on life insurance and disability insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Life insurance, we can kind of get the gamut of term insurance, return of premium, whole life, protection indexed IUL, accumulation IUL. Really, there's a lot of ways we can do it. Matt Fitzpatrick joined us from John Hancock and talked about their IUL with a long-term care rider. And then obviously on the disability side, whether we're looking at supplementing anything like that, because again, the whole thing about insurance, everybody loves what insurance does, but one of the hiccups is oftentimes that underwriting process as we get going. So if you're an advisor that works in life insurance or disability insurance, those guaranteed issue products from a voluntary or executive benefit space can really add to your practice.
Yeah, and I was going to ask kind of two questions, but you answered one of them. One was obviously right now there's really not a quote unquote GI long-term care product, but these solutions are able to have a long-term care rider. Some of them are able to have a long-term care rider or some critical illness put on it, correct? Right, Steve?
Yeah, we've got some really good solutions there. again, as you mentioned, the guaranteed issue with whether it's a long-term care rider or a chronic illness rider, there's still going to be some underwriting, but the carrier partners that we've got and that are out there in the industry, a lot of times we'll utilize simplified underwriting. So again, not going through a complex paramed, a lot of detailed medical questions. They're going to kind of bring in some of those low table rated type of risks as well, even on that long-term care or chronic illness rider. But along that point, Phil, you talk about that specific type of product, that long-term care or chronic illness rider on a IUL chassis. One of the things I would highly encourage our advisors, and maybe I'll pose this in the form of a question to you, Phil, is rather than our advisors knowing all of our carriers and all of the different worksite guaranteed issues, simplified issues solutions out there, that's what they have us for. Us as RVPs, our design team, we will come alongside you and help determine what that right product is. So I guess, Phil, one thing for you is if an advisor comes to somebody here at E4 and says, hey, I've got a group, what type of details, what type of, solves, goals do you think would be valuable for us to know? So then that way our advisors don't have to be the product experts. That's on us. But what type of details and things should they know about, and how can they pose that to their business clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you look at this space, when you look at this product in particular, it has gotten, when you're looking at the carriers that are participating in this area, there's a little bit of overlap, but there's actually a lot of, I don't want to call it specialization, but there's niches that these carriers have kind of worked into. And when you come back to, when the advisor comes to us and says, hey, I've got somebody that raised their hand and they're interested in it, right? And I'd love to share a story before we transition into the next question. But the things that we're going to need are, first and foremost, is how many people. We're going to need to know if it's going to be company paid, individually paid, or a partnership, a collaboration of the two. So the employee can pay it, or the employer can pay it, or it can do both, right? And then just kind of the general design and the general goal of it. And from there, what we can do is we can partner with our carriers, we can partner with our different partnerships, and come back to them and say, all right, based off of the income, based off of the direction, based off the number of people, we believe this is the best fit, right? So it's kind of, we're used to it in the life insurance world. I had a conversation this morning with one of the advisors is, we're used to sitting down with a 45-year-old male who's got either a budget or a need and coming up with an individual solution. This is almost reverse, where we kind of got to have that conversation up front of saying, well, what are you wanting to accomplish? And then we go back to the drawing board, find what's, in the portfolio, and then give them the best option going forward. But a lot of the questions I get is, well, how do I get into this space, right? And one of the most successful GI or worksite advisors I've ever had, he had a simple question. He would go to business owners, he'd go to officers, and he had a great relationship with them. Either he was doing personal planning or he was their commercial insurance agent. And he would say, Steve, do you have anybody that you work with or works for you that you believe is uninsurable? And what's crazy is when you get a group more than about 10, the answer to that question is always typically going to be yes, right? And then he asks the second question. You say, if I were to be able to find an insurance option for them, would you be interested in looking at it if it was at no cost to you? What do you think the answer was for that?
I would hope that the answer would be absolutely. Sign us up.
Yeah, the answer is usually, absolutely, please, let's look at it. From there, what he would do is he'd get a census. He'd ask the officer or the owner, who do you want to make sure is underneath this program? You don't have to offer it to everybody. You can be selective. And then he would come back to us, and then we would help him select what the best outlet was. Now, what does that turn into over about an 8-year career of doing this? We just actually pulled a report for one of his carriers, and he has 1,600 lives that he's placed on worksite and GI products. So a massive number, and there's 1,600 families that have experienced a positive impact because of just two simple questions. Is anybody in your office, firm, or practice uninsurable? would you be interested in looking at some different options?
I think
And
the
those
most,
answers are usually yes.
yeah, and I think the most powerful thing to that is, if you think back and if anybody rewinds this about 2 minutes in the recording, I caught that voluntary benefits isn't that advisor's specialty. It's not their niche. He's doing personal planning. He's doing commercial planning. So again, you can kind of take that go deeper or go wider mentality. And really, I think what he's doing there is he's going deeper with those already existing relationships. So you don't have to be a benefits advisor. You can have those conversations with the decision makers that you're already working with. So, that kind of leads me to another question I had for you, Phil. Not only just this last month since it's been our focus planning series, but over the last couple of years, I know us here at E4, we've really put a lot of focus on these guaranteed issue, these worksite type of products. Can you talk to that? Why is it? Anything that you can think of how it's impacting clients, families that we've seen. I know the answer to that question, but anything you want to share on really kind of the why behind why this can be important?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking that question too. Kind of hits home. So, originally or initially, this product line or this solution line was attractive because if I were to go survey 100 advisors, 100 of them would say their least favorite part of life insurance is underwriting, right? And with the GI solution, it kind of eliminates that. There's still some components to it. Not every, there are caveats and catch points, but by and large, it's kind of eliminates the underwriting headaches, right? You're able to engage with a lot of individuals. So when you're looking at 10 to 100 people that are working at a company or at a group, there's opportunities to also open up a lot more prospects than just that business. But what it does is, for those of you that have maintained keep an eye on the communication sent out, we at E4 experienced the loss just in the last week. One of our colleagues and friends unexpectedly passed away, and our owners had the foresight to make it an option for us to have these types of policies available to us as employees. And thankfully, that individual was they took the opportunity to enroll in it. And we're seeing firsthand in the last week the difference that it makes for that employee's family to put the pieces of the puzzle together. We're kind of reeling from a tragedy of a loss here at our group, at our company, and our pseudo family, and we're able to see the difference that a product like this makes with his family. So not only his family's grieving, we're grieving, but there's resources available for them to help put the pieces of the puzzle back together, to help keep the estate whole, to help make sure that there's time to answer a lot of tough questions and there's not a rush. And so we've got this heightened sense of accountability, not only to our producers, but to the people of our community and the business owners, that we have to have that conversation. There are individuals that need to have an opportunity you hear me say that, give them an opportunity to say no. I'm okay with that, right? But we're seeing, we've always been passionate about this, but now we've got to, now we're going to kind of become raving evangelists, because all of us at E4 are seeing the difference that this makes. And it was the decision of our owners to make it an option. And it's now kind of, it's forged into our culture, into our value proposition, to make sure that we're promoting this. So it's one thing to talk, it's one thing to have a story, but it's another thing to live it. And we definitely have some push behind having these conversations. So, and we'll be kind of unapologetic about it. I'm okay with hearing no, right? I'm okay with calling you a couple times and giving you a chance to learn about it. So, because it does make a big difference. But Steve, we got time for one more question. And I know a lot of times sitting in the advisor's seat, the question is, well, is this something that I should go after? You've had a tremendous amount of success presenting this to a lot of your different advisors. Who should specifically, be looking for these, or what producers? Is there is it commercial insurance? Is it benefits producers? Is it advisors? Is it all? What's who should be on the lookout for this?
Yeah, that's a great, final question as we wrap up here today, Phil, because that's the whole point of these brew series is ultimately helping our advisors place these solutions. And I think the short answer is anyone. Any one of our advisors can really do this. It just depends on, which door or which window am I going into. And so just to kind of, if I were to say, for each different individual advisor type, if we think of, kind of your insurance advisors that do, whether it's personal lines or commercial, you've got your benefits producers, you've got your financial, wealth advisors. I think they can all have great success within this. And if you think of somebody that's got a relationship with a lot of individuals, go to your business owners that you have as personal clients, or your C-suite. Some of those clients that are decision makers within either the company they own or the company they work with, and you can have those discussions. I love those two questions that you mentioned earlier. Is anybody in your business or where you work uninsurable? It's going to really open up a lot of doors. And it's just asking that question. We've got to have thick skin in this business. We've got to be used to getting told no a lot. But eventually ask the right questions to the right person at the right time, you're going to get yeses. So again, whether that's the life insurance or on the disability insurance side, we talked in that space a little while back. Do you understand how your disability? What's your plan if you're too sick or hurt and can't work? We can do those GSI, guaranteed standard issue on disability, as well for anybody that's vastly underinsured there. If we pivot to more of the wealth advisors, your planners that are really going after the investment dollars. Same thing. You go to somebody that is a high income earner. You know what they're doing because you're meeting regularly. Those investment advisors are having, whether it's annual, semi-annual, or quarterly reviews. You know your clients very well. You know who's the CFO at company A. You know who's the owner of company B, and just bringing that up. In your business, do you have anybody that's uninsurable? If I could bring you a solution that could get them something, would you be open to hearing about it? So again, we think of a case study. We implemented a GSI, a couple of really nice disability contracts end of last year and this year. One was with an attorney group. The other was with a group of physicians, all of them making high six figures into the seven figures. Not a single one of them had adequate disability insurance. I can probably guess they all or most of them had a financial advisor that should be looking out for their best interest. And it was the benefit advisor that we work with that saw the opportunity to bring that up and help out. And, I bet between the two groups, it was probably, off the top of my head, 35, 40 individuals get proper disability protection. Would have just been one question by one of those individuals' financial advisors that they could have been the hero providing that. So again, it's just asking those questions. And then lastly, before we finish up here, anybody that does benefits, add that into your, whether it's a new proposal with a new prospect or your renewal meetings, at least offer it up. Because again, get used to being told no. On the executive benefit side, it's going to make you stand out. Hey, we've got your, I see your plan you've got for everybody, your group benefits plan. What are you doing from an executive benefits planning perspective?
Yeah,
those asymmetrical contributors. Do you want to provide asymmetrical benefits? So it's really just figuring out the way to get in the window.
And that's, the one thing and last thing thought I want to kind of leave with you guys is it's not. In the past 12 months, I've had the opportunity of working on a group that was 12 individuals that were working at a restaurant, making $10 an hour plus tips. And I've had the opportunity to put together an executive carve-out plan for 50 partners at a law firm that were all making seven figures, right? So this is anybody that has a paycheck, anybody that has an occupation. And the conversations were, ironically, both of those conversations started with the same question. We talked about, do you have anybody that's uninsurable? That's an easy one. The question, same advisor, by the way, brought both of these cases to the firm. Their question was, you have a very unique business. Are you interested in looking at a benefits package that will help retain your best people? And in both instances, the owner of the restaurant said absolutely, and the main partner at the law firm said absolutely. They just lost one of their key associates who is coming up the ranks to a competing law firm. So, do you want to offer some unique benefits to retain your best people? So, it's this is a great opportunity that's out there. Again, find it, ask it. Once you have that client that raises the hand, just send them to us. Steve, myself, all the other RVPs, our carrier partners. If you have somebody that identifies the opportunity that they want to look at these things, you've done 99.9% of the work to that point. Send it over to us, and we will run with it from there. So the hardest part's finding them, and then we just take it from there. So, but thanks for the conversation today, Steve. This is a huge market, and we definitely want to make sure, especially with what's happened at our organization in the last week. This is definitely something that we want to promote and drive with our advisors.
Absolutely, and thank you too, Phil. It was great having these brews this month and talking on a topic that I know you and I are both passionate about, as well as many of us here at E4. So thanks for joining. Thanks for everybody joining today. And while we wait for any final questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I want to remind everybody that today's brew and our full library are recorded and shared on our recorded on our brew blog on our website, www.e4.insurance. And today's recording will be posted to our brew blog and emailed to advisors later. So I don't see any questions coming into the chat box as I fumbled over that tongue twister trying to say brew blog consecutively. So without seeing any questions, I think we covered it great. Speaking for myself, Phil, let's go on to our giveaway. Can you pick a number between 1 and 28?
22.
22. The great Emmett Smith. Our winner today is Aaron. Thank you and congratulations, Aaron. Be on the lookout for a complimentary CE voucher and Starbucks gift card that will be coming your way here from all of us at E4 Insurance Services. On next week's brew, we will kick off our September focus planning series on life insurance inside qualified plans. David West, partner at the Fortis Agency, has been in the financial services industry for over 10 years and specializes in helping physicians, executives, and business owners protect and grow their wealth. David will discuss his success with a unique strategy of taking equity-defined benefit plans, rolling the effective tax savings into an after-tax IUL, and sharing a side-by-side spend-down of taxable versus non-taxable. So I thank you again, everyone, for joining, and we will see you next week on The Brew.